Huey, Marvin, Frenchie, Kamiko, and Butcher have all returned for Season 2 of Amazon Prime's hit streaming series, The Boys, with more heroism and carnage at the hands of the vainglorious Supes and more ingenuity and infighting from our ragtag squad of anti-Supes. And we three are here to chop up all of it. On this episode, we start with major takeaways, do a short dive into new characters like Storefront and Lamplighter, and offer praise for Antony Starr's nuanced portrayal of the powerful but broken Homelander. Also addressed in the conversation are the elements of Nazism and racism that have come to the fore, as well as a few of our critiques of Season 2. And of course, we couldn't skip over that epic season finale beatdown. Hey, girls get it done, right? As always, thanks for listening to the show, and don't forget to subscribe to Sidebar Forever at sidebarforever.com or wherever you get your podcast.
Good morning, Dr. Silberman. How's the knee?
Did you just have a brain fart?
I know Taekwondo.
Stop eating my sesame cake!
You're killing me, Smalls.
Fuck with me, and we'll see who shits on the sidewalk.
Come quietly, or there will be trouble.
Clearly, I wasn't talking to you, big titties. You cherub-looking motherfucker.
While you were still learning how to spell your name, I was being trained to conquer galaxies.
The real question is, what are those?
Yay.
Yep.
Yo.
There we go.
Cool.
All right, so let's jump on Boys Season 2, fellas.
Okay, yeah.
Boys.
For anyone who has not seen the series and who doesn't know, The Boys is it's a web series produced by Amazon Prime, and it debuted last summer in 2019. The show was produced by a guy named Eric Kripke, but also with Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. And it features an ensemble cast, and it's basically about a bunch of corporate-owned superheroes who are just as vain and fallible and really as dark as any of the human beings on the show. Maybe even more so to some extent. Carl Urban and Elizabeth Shue were the biggest named actors on the very first season. Everyone else was pretty much fairly unknown, maybe mid-range, like a B-level, to almost unknown in some cases. And the first season was so mega popular that the producers went back to the drawing board pretty quickly and banged out Season 2. And I don't say quickly like they skimped on quality because, it's a pretty good season for the most part.
Yeah.
But in Season 2, we got some new characters. We got Storefront, Lamplighter, Kenji, who is the female's brother, Victoria Newman, and Love Sausage.
That was an unwelcome surprise, sir.
Yeah, I kept wondering about that. What is that? Oh my goodness!
It's
but
a
they
cucumber.
It is a cucumber, the human cucumber. But they also gave us more from some characters that were introduced in that very first season, like Stan Edgar, Grace Mallory, and Ryan, Homelander's estranged son.
Yes.
So we're going to definitely review the series. We're going to review the Season 2. Spoilers will abound, and I definitely want to start with you guys and ask you, like just some simple general takeaways from the second season, that stuck with you, stuff that stuck with you.
Fascism is on the rise. Brought to you by neo-Nazi Vought, and it's just funny, man. Like. How companies that rise to prominence and whatever, how the money dissolves the past to a point where people can't find it anymore. At least they think that it does. And then when it comes to a point of reckoning, because they have the necessary social media group in place, they could dissolve all that, and they can make excuses for it, and people will be forced to comply because they don't have the money to topple a pharmaceutical company of that nature and that height, man. That was one of the biggest takeaways for me. That and just how important it is to have like a really solid like family unit in place, like a true mother and father in place that will help to, raise a kid properly. So
yeah.
Those are my initial impressions.
I would say my takeaway is similar to what you were saying, D, about fascism and everything, because, one of the dirty secrets that few people rarely know is that a lot of, during World War II, even back to World War I, a lot of American corporations and banking were giving funds to the Nazis and to Germany. You know what I'm saying? Ford, the General Motors, all mixed up in that. And people have forgotten that. And if you try to bring it up now, it's like, no. They're Americans. And again, everything is just, expunged, so to speak, because you're familiar with the brand, and just like how it is with Vought. Vought is the brand. So you even saw, like, when everything was exposed, who Frederick Vought was, the whole heritage of everything.
Right.
They were still able to kind of smooth that over somewhat. There were some rumblings, of people like, hey, wait a minute. But for the most part, it just kind of assuaged itself and just calmed down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I totally agree with you on your second point, D, just in terms of, the family unit, the family unit, and kind of the normalization of that kind of broken family, so to speak. And really, one of the true casualties of this season is Ryan. I mean, he really is. Think. I mean, he's being pulled this way and that way in this power struggle that he cannot even comprehend. There are forces out there that he can't even begin to comprehend. And it just sucks. I felt terrible for him, man. So
and just to buttress that point, man. It's still unclear as to whether or not Ryan was a product of a rape or part of a consensual relationship with Homelander. You know what I mean? Based on the fact that the mother, spoilers, she dies in this season, and they'll really discuss. You don't know if she was it a consensual thing because she was so close to him initially as being part of the public publicity situation at Voss, at Vought,
right.
Or was she just mistakenly, she caught up and decided she wanted to keep the child out of some right to life type thing situation, or did he force her to do that based on who he was? Because basically Homelander is the type of badass. He can make you do anything he wants you to do with the threat of life, with the threat of your life, and with the threat of you being on the edge of a knife.
He's a monster.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. It's just weird.
I think the kid who plays Ryan is a terrible actor.
You know what? Swain. Okay, so I'm not the only one who thought that.
No.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. Lord forgive me, but the end of the episode where they find Storefront in the woods, right?
Right.
And he's just, I'm sorry. Now. That would be a typical kid reaction, but most kids would be like, I'm sorry a couple of times, and then just like lay it on down. Just fall to their knees or something. Right. But not, I'm sorry. Like a broken record, like the dude keeps, I'm sorry, yo.
He's bad, and to you all's point about feeling sorry for him, I just couldn't feel sorry for him because he was such a terrible actor. The situation, okay, yeah, but I mean, he didn't make me connect with him at all. And I say that because there are some great child actors out there. There's some great young actors that they could have hired, and I was just like, why did you hire this kid?
Man, he was affordable, probably.
Yeah,
them Stranger Things kids, man, they stocked them with up.
I don't know, man. It's a weird thing, man. Like I think any kid. I mean, to me, his acting wasn't essential to me. So I was able to forgive him in terms of what may have been his shortcomings. But what I noticed, what I liked about him was the fact it didn't seem like he was acting. Like it was almost, you know what I mean? Like he didn't, like he was like some kid they pulled off the street. That just kind of like it worked because he was supposed to be like detached from this guy who was, once he found out he was like living in this bubble. How easy it was to bust it, and he freaked out. And I did. To me, I mean, the strength of his acting, or the best part about it is his whole time on the show was when Homelander and Storefront tell him, none of this stuff is real around you, right? And he's like, I hate you, Mom. that kind of came from a real place for me personally. I kind of saw it, but
it didn't resonate with me at all. It seemed fake and phony, like it was a that was the worst line read I heard. I'm like, come on, there's some brilliant young child actors out there who could have given you all the stuff and made the lines sound believable. Who, you know what I'm saying? It has to do with you have to have the skills to be able to make it work. And I'm just like, okay, he must be somebody's nephew or something, because he just wasn't great. But so that's an interesting point. Who do you guys think is the best actor on the show? Like, as in, who's doing the best job with what they're given to do?
Man, Homelander, come on now.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, Homelander, man.
I mean, because it's the very nature of. I mean, but that's easy, because as I texted you guys beforehand, I was saying, well, it's kind of an actor's dream to play somebody that's unhinged and unprincipled and totally, egomaniacal as Homelander is.
Psychopath, psychopath.
So I mean, it's questionable how hard that is once you reach out and say, I'm just going to cut loose. You know what I mean? But there's some changes in, like as Adrian said, he shows a lot of range in terms of how much he gives in each situation. Like, he's not always on 10. He's sometimes he dials down to 9, 8, 7.5, and so on and so forth.
And to your point, D, that's, to me, Antony Starr is the guy who plays Homelander.
Right.
That, to me, is what I'm getting is he's doing a lot with his eyes and with his mouth and with facial tics.
Yeah.
And with subtleties that are way more menacing and, to me, way more nefarious than when he laser beams somebody in half.
Yeah.
Like, that's mustache twirling and scene gobbling. Mm-hmm. But, some of the slight things that he does where I'm just like, okay, he's doing a lot. But oddly enough, like, I feel like, so for instance, I feel like I know Homelander.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. You know him in real life.
Of the boys, well, I mean, I feel like as the character is being portrayed by Antony Starr, I feel like I know Homelander.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I know Frenchie.
Right.
I don't feel like I know Marvin, even though I like Marvin the most, but I don't know Marvin.
Okay.
They tried to do some of that stuff with him in the series, but I don't feel like I know Marvin. But I feel like I know Frenchie. I know Homelander.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like, to an extent, I knew Stillwell.
Stillwell?
Like, I knew who she was. But anyway,
gotcha.
that just may be who I'm keying in on, not necessarily how great an acting job that they're doing. Like, the Beckett character was two-dimensional, just...
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't much to her. Butcher, they're trying to do more with him. I think, Adrian, you were pointing out in our text exchange that, they're trying to kind of flesh out the characers a little more this season.
And it helped. It definitely helped.
Yeah. I think, and sometimes I think he's just too on the nose. Butcher's character being played by Carl Urban. I mean, he's just that rascally, I'm a good assassin, devil may care asshole. You know what I mean? With all the nasty, foul language and shit. You know what I'm saying?
You know what my favorite line from him is, and they've made a meme out of it. If you Google it now, you'll find dozens of them.
Okay.
Well, if it isn't the invisible cunt.
Right.
Hey.
Yeah.
Wow.
See what I'm saying? Yeah. That's it.
But, D, do you agree, Homelander? You feel like he's
the best
most
actor?
definitely.
Most definitely. I mean, just in terms of the level to which he's able to commit to the varying changes in attitude and emotion. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and the restraint that he shows, to your point, D, where there are some scenes where you're expecting, he's going to just come apart, he's going to just blow up, whatever. Mm-hmm. And he just shows that restraint with just like a head tick, just...
Right.
Yeah, like when he has to recant all the things he'd been doing at the very end, and has to basically like mea culpa and kiss ass to the two chicks that whooped his ass, and that was some serious. I believed him. I was like, it's like he's like this fucking political figure. It's like, okay, you believe everything they say because they're really good at doing what they do.
But then when they did that close up on his eyes, he's saying one thing. He's saying all the platitudes you're supposed to say in front of an audience and everything, but look in the man's eyes. Look in the man's, he's seething.
Yeah. That's like his middle name, Seething.
Seriously.
That is
Antony
it.
Seething Starr.
Anthony Seething Starr. Or John Seething Homelander. So, well, in this particular season, some of the things that we see happening are, one is that they're Vought is using the Seven and they're making some feature films, and they're actually playing themselves in the feature films. We see the Deep come back. He wants to get back into the Seven, so he links up with the Church of the Collective, and eventually A-Train is drawn into the Church of the Collective along with him.
Right.
We also see Sage Grove, which is like an institution, and we find out that Storefront is involved, and there are other soups there, and they're being drugged and experimented upon, and that's actually where we get introduced to Lamplighter, a character I think that was actually mentioned in the first season because he's the one that killed Grace's grandkids.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
By
and then also
Bobby Drake.
By Bobby Drake, the actor who played Bobby Drake and Iceman and X-Men. Yeah. That was kind of a cool,
It was.
Man,
I was like, okay.
Nice. Yeah.
Bobby grew up and got hot, And then we also see, Starlight and Huey and their relationship start to develop on like a road trip. And actually, they consummate their relationship one night.
Yeah, they do.
And Starlight assists in helping them steal some Compound V from Vought, and then release all the information about Compound V to the newspapers and on the internet and to the world, so people know now the superheroes, the soups, are not born, but they're actually made in a lab. And then I guess lastly we find out Storefront comes in as a member of the Seven, and she kind of ruffles a lot of feathers, most especially Homelander's feathers, and then she and Homelander end up starting a relationship, and then we find out more about Storefront in terms of how old she is and what her actual history is with Vought. But another big question I guess I'm curious about is I don't feel like, I'm not sure if Butcher and the boys, are they the heroes of the story? Are they the anti-heroes? Are they just like the can of Raid that you pull out when you want to spray superpowered cockroaches? like what? Who are we supposed to root for on the show, really?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Adrian.
No, I was just gonna say, just naturally you root for the boys because just by the nature of the scripting, they are the underdogs. They're the hunted. They're the non-superpowered, protagonists, so to speak, and the way that the soups are portrayed, they're portrayed as just having severe, extreme feet of clay. You're not supposed to feel for them, really, even though characterization comes to the point where it's like, oh, okay, these guys are starting to have backstories and everything.
Right.
But yeah, it's just like, sometimes they're as, the boys in them are just as despicable as some of the soups, and you're like, really?
I don't know, man. I think it's all very cartoony, of course, because it's based on a comic book, and there's these extremes, of course, of ultra violence and crazy, off the nature of killing and destroying things. But I don't see their overall natures as being that of killers. Like I think that Homelander, he's got an iron fist. He will. I mean, if you don't go his way, he's that leader that will he'll straight kill you. I mean, I thought.
But that's I think that's one of the things that I don't mean to cut you off, D. I just want to insert. That's one of the things that I think we'll all agree that season 2 did well is making, like, yeah, he's physically strong, he's got laser beam eyeballs, but he has a weakness. He has a vulnerability. In the first season, it was his relationship with Stillwell. In this second season, we find out, via Maeve, and really, we know this going into the season. He is a broken human being who was raised in a lab who doesn't know how to love and connect.
Yeah.
He only likes, he only knows how to be adored and to be followed and valorized, and when he doesn't get that, he can't fucking function. So that's a way that Maeve was able to get him to, to pull back off of the boys and to pull back off of, Butcher and, everyone else. It's like, okay, Everybody's gonna know you let a plane full of people die. You might as well fly your ass up to Mars like fucking Dr. Manhattan, or to the moon like Dr. Manhattan, and be done with it.
Assuming he could do that, yeah.
Assuming that he could actually do that, yeah.
You know, I think that's probably I'd be interested in finding what his major weakness is, man. Besides interesting enough, another character that exhibits what his real weakness is. That's Mother's Milk. But you know, I'd be interested in finding if you could suffocate his ass. You know, if you can deprive him of oxygen when he die, you know, that would be cool, because that's all you need to do to him. I mean, if Deep had the guts, if you could submerge his ass in water deep enough, quickly enough, and for long enough, could you kill Homelander potentially?
Well, see, and that's the thing. I think that the ingenuity of the writing, because I mean, when you think about it, okay, these people have superpowers. Why would you send human beings after them? Right. Well, but it becomes almost like a David and Goliath kind of a thing. Well, we've got to just come up with a better slingshot and a better weapon in order to fell the giant. So you see, like in the scene where Black Noir was getting ready to kill Starlight, and then May comes and she puts him in that chokehold and she stuffs an almond joy in his mouth, and then he starts, and then you see him have an allergic reaction. She says he has a nut allergy, right? And that was a clever way to show that these superpowered characters, like what you're describing, D, have vulnerability. And I have the same thing with Homelander's hearing. When Frenchie sets up that sonic thing and Homelander's like, yeah, and I think that's going to come up again, a la the Crime Alley scene in The Dark Knight Returns, where it's like, okay, yeah, Superman is superpowered, but he's still got eyeballs, he's still got vision that can be affected, hearing that can be affected, and if you can fuck with his brain long enough, you can probably take him out. So perhaps you're right. It's like Wolverine, he's got an adamantium skeleton, but if you stop his heart from beating long enough, he's going to die.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But what about you, Adrian? You said you think that the boys are definitely our protagonists, and for the most part, like you said, we're supposed to root for them.
Yeah. Just like I said, just naturally by what the script is, by the scripting. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, like I was saying, you do feel that in some ways they're just as despicable, especially Butcher. But the way that you can almost justify it to yourself as a viewer is that, well, Butcher's making tough choices because he has these 4 other people behind him, or however many, that he has to make this decision for. He's not just thinking of, even though as selfish as he is, he's not just necessarily thinking of just himself. He's almost thinking of, okay, I still got a team that I got to look over or whatnot, even if it is me being selfish to make sure they got to stay alive so I can get my goals done. You know what I'm saying? Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but Butcher, man. But here's the thing: Butcher's not as. I mean, Butcher's callous, and he has a lot of testosterone, intestinal fortitude, and all that manly machismo stuff going for him. But ultimately, he still wanted to see his father, knowing what kind of bastard he was, and how he. No,
he didn't.
He did, but he agreed. He didn't. But he agreed to it though. And when his father started talking that shit, that's when it got to be too much for him. Like he was going.
I got the impression that it wasn't because of him. When his mother said your dad is going to die, he didn't want his mom to have to deal with that by herself because her son had already died.
Right.
So I got the feeling he was doing it more for his mom than he was for. Yeah. That was my impression, anyway.
Probably, but I mean, I still think it takes a certain amount of if you're going someplace, ultimately you don't want to be there. Your mom said, "Okay, well, your dad's here. He's out there on the patio right now." You're like, "Mom," some people turn right back around. You'll be like,
"I sure would."
Right?
Yep. And I'm out.
Yeah. All right, peace.
Yeah, man. Because the guy who plays him is excellent, dude. I forgot his name right now.
Oh, John Noble.
Carl Urban.
John Noble. John Noble plays his father. Yeah,
plays the father. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. John Noble is excellent, dude. He's a hell of an actor.
So as far as Carl Urban is concerned, I was watching The Boys. They have a social media channel, and I was watching an interview with him. Aisha Tyler hosts a show for Amazon Prime about The Boys, and she's a big nerd herself. So she's interviewing many of the cast and the producers and writers and whatnot. And Urban was saying that, or she was saying, as she was talking with Urban, that, you know, for most of the first season and part of second season, you think that Billy's attitude largely comes from the fact that, you know, he thinks that his wife had been killed, and now she's just been taken away, and that's where all of his animosity comes from. But part of it probably comes from the fact that he was raised by a physically abusive father,
right,
who he probably saw abuse his mom too,
right.
And they never explained what happened to his brother Lenny, but he went, you know, but his brother Lenny ended up killing himself.
Right.
So he's got a lot of pain in his past, and so that kind of, you know, maybe addresses some of it too. But
right.
Let me ask you guys, as far as, because D, you mentioned earlier about the fascism and all of that. Do you guys think that the racism elements and the fascist well, let's start at a different place.
Okay.
What did you guys think of, one, the introduction of the new character Stormfront, A, and then B, when she catches Kenji on top of the roof and she calls him like a yellow bastard, and then she breaks his arms and then breaks his neck? What did you all think of that scene? And then what did you think about the ultimate reveal later on, where we find out that she just ages apparently very, very slowly, or maybe doesn't age at all, we don't even know, but that, you know, she is, you know, probably close to 100 years old, and she was originally one of the Golden Age heroes called Liberty,
right?
And that whole thing, and that she's, you know, involved with the Nazi Party and all that. What did you guys think about that as an introduction into the series?
Go ahead.
All right, can I take that in two parts? The first part is the first part of that actually made me stop watching this season. Like, I had actually said, fuck that. I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of y'all always using black pain to just get a point across. And the key point that made me stop, and I had to back up off of it for a few weeks or whatnot, was they flash back to Liberty back in the 50s or 60s or whatever, as the older lady, Dawn Lewis, is recounting what happened to her brother at the hands of Liberty, you know, one night back then. And they showed after she punched the brother, I'm telling you, it's a 1-to-1 correlation. If you look at it, man, I knew instantly. I don't know if it was perfect on purpose or what, but she Emmett Till'd that dude.
Yeah.
Face was crushed in there. I was like, no, I'm tired. Ooh, I was heated.
It's a lot worse than that, though, man. But your point's taken.
Of course, but it's just like, no, man, I'm tired of that. You know, and that just wasn't the only thing as well. When Storefront is chasing them through that apartment building or whatnot, and it took a sec for me to cotton on to what was going on. Every black person, like when she crashes into the apartment of the black family, and she ends up killing them, and you hear behind them as the boys are running, escaping, you hear the cries of the family and everything. It's like, wait a minute, did she just kill them in cold blood? What? And so she's chasing them further up the building. She comes across another brother, kills him, and you see her working away floor by floor, just demolishing the place. I was like, wait a minute, hold on. Oh, and I started getting the inkling then. It's like, Stormfront. There's a website called stormfront.org that's neo-Nazis in real life. You know what I'm saying? Yes, that is a real life website, you know? Damn. And so that's why I was like, Stormfront, she's only killing black. No, they're not going to go there. I remember thinking that while I was watching it. Oh, no, they're not going to do that. Then when she gets to the roof and has Kenji cornered, you know what I'm saying, breaks him down and everything, and calls him a yellow bastard, I was like, she's racist. Oh, my God, she's racist. You know, like I remember saying that out loud, 10:30 at night. I was like, oh, shit, so where are they going to go with this? You know? And everything clicked. Stormfront. She only kills minorities. She just called him a yellow bastard. Yes, that's what it is. And then the whole Emmett Till thing, to me, I was like, nah, fuck that. I wasn't thrown off by the racism per se, but just that using black pain as a fulcrum that's the part that I was like, So I had to be persuaded to come back and finish it up, by you guys. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting.
Yeah, and I'm glad I did, because it ended up, she got her just desserts, but that still sticks in my craw though. Not just with this series, but entertainment in general. But go ahead.
I think and we talked about this off mic, but I think some of that actually comes from the comics.
Okay.
As the Stormfront character, and I think Stormfront was actually a member of Payback, that group. But yeah, I didn't think it. Well, D, what did you think? What you were going to speak? I'm sorry.
No worries, man. I mean, there's so much, man, that's going on in this series, man. It's revelatory, but very much like prevalent in today's society, man. Like it's almost mirroring everything that's going on, and it's just weird, man, to watch. If you're not careful, the kind of slope that we're on right now really, really takes us into a situation. If there were superpowered beings that can act in this manner, they would do so with carte blanche, man, and with pretty much like the blessings of our current commander in chief. It's a weird thing, man, to see life reflected in art, man. And I guess the capstone for me, man, was when she walks and crosses A-Train, which I don't care. I don't care for A-Train either, man. A-Train, he's an asshole. He's every athlete in school that I never liked and cared for.
Woo, yeah, baby, I'm back.
Right.
Back, bitch. That's right. A-Train.
And so I mean, he's that kind of dude to me, man. But to see him like reduced to a racial character, showed me the kind of character who she was almost instantly.
Sure.
I don't remember if that was before or after that that was before she actually was in action. She had a couple of action opportunities, but you really didn't get into her whole race baiting thing, her whole hating thing until like Adrian said, when she killed the female's brother. It was weird, man. It's kind of another strange thing is for us to be talking about this character in the Stormfront in the vein of what we talked about last week with the Highlander, being immortal, being that there's, there can be only one, and being that there's a place where the Herr Führer's Reich was creating the supreme race, and with Vought he was capable of doing that.
Right.
It's just I don't know, man. It's the best of things in terms of seeing life reflecting art, but it's also the worst of things to seeing how far things can go, how poorly people communicate and have these crazy ass desires to rule the world and shit. So I think one of the things I liked about the lead characters, about Homelander's characterization, was that when she started talking that crazy shit to his son, how he kind of winced about
I noticed. I picked up on that. Yeah, I picked up on that.
It's like, okay, why are you like, well, I understand. I know why you're doing it, because you really believe it. That's why you do it. But at the same time, it's like, Homelander, you may not be in good terms with the birth mother, but that's still her child, and you are denying her the right to raise a child, the way she sees fit, by introducing this person you can't sue to get him back. You can't send the law after him. He like Judge Dredd said, I am the law. This motherfucker will rip you through ways from Sunday. If he doesn't like you, he'll assassinate you any way he possibly can from a distance, dude. This guy's he's seemingly omnipotent. So I said it on purpose that way. But I don't I don't know where I was going with that tangent, but I just find it to be like reprehensible. But I had to watch it to the end because I knew where it was heading, and I was hoping that she would get hers this season and not next season. I'm referring to Stormfront.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to add one more thing to that while you're talking about Homelander, D. Yes, Homelander did wince when Stormfront was talking all crazy to his son, but yet he fell in right in lockstep. Even after she revealed exactly who she was, showed him pictures, showed him proof, laid it out on the table, and he was still like, okay, Okay, I'm still on board. Okay, oh, that's all right. Like he was sprung.
Keep in mind though, that's Homelander's thing.
Yeah.
He says it throughout the course of this season, and he implies it strongly in the first season, and you see it in his reactions. He doesn't like being lied to.
Right.
He will care for you, and he will feel for you, and he will consider you on his side if you have no secrets, because he's been raised in secrecy for so long, not knowing anything. So he says that, I hate when people lie to me. So the fact that she told him everything, he was like, okay, you're giving all of yourself to me. You're willing to open up, and not have anything be between us. And that's what he ultimately wants. He couldn't get that from Stillwell. He can't get it from Vaught. He knows he can't get it from Vaught. He couldn't get it from Maeve, because Maeve had, ended up having this other relationship that I assume on the side, and then it became like her, her main thing. Yeah, thing. So, but as far as the Nazism and the white supremacy and all of that, I didn't find it to be especially like prescient or timely. As a matter of fact, everything about this series for me, and really this season too, it kind of feels like window dressing around the major story points or the set pieces. Like, for myself watching the show, I don't care about the characters. I don't care about the boys. I just care what's happening in the story and where we're going next.
Okay.
But
I see.
But I'm literally waiting for the story to advance. And I feel like everybody on the show is kind of messy and dirty and filthy. Hence, my earlier question about heroes or anti-heroes or what exactly are they? But anyway, do you guys have? This is the other thing I want to ask.
Okay.
The introduction of the Church of the Collective. That was the part of the show where I thought it dragged.
Yeah.
Like, I thought they could have done that, most of that, whatever that storyline was, in less time, A. And B, I see where they were ultimately trying to tie it to when you got to the season finale.
Oh, of course.
But I thought all of that was like, this isn't that interesting. I mean, no offense to the Deep, but fuck you, Deep. Nobody cares. And then them drinking
you deeply,
right? And then them drinking the Fresca and all of that. It was just like,
and I like Fresca. I grew up on Frescas, yo.
Okay.
I'm like, man, how y'all gonna do me like that, yo? Damn. It was it's crisp and refreshing. But go ahead.
That's what they say. Yeah.
But anyway, I just thought that whole thing, and then and then we see like how that ties into Victoria Newman, the kind of character with the political aspirations and whatnot. But I think, without question, the big set piece of season 2 is them on the water in the boats, and here comes the Deep.
Oh my God.
Riding on the back of the fish.
Yes. Aquaman style.
Oh my God.
Aquaman style. And when he has the whale block the entrance, and they just rammed that motherfucker, yo.
Oh my God. I must have, like the whole, it was beautiful. The whole setup was so absurd. I was laughing through the whole thing, like 5 minutes straight, man. It's like, oh my God, not only is he riding this whale, he beaches it, and then the funniest part, y'all, the absolute funniest part is when the boat is coming, and you're like, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna jump the whale like the Fonz? What are they gonna do? And then, and then you see the Deep just kind of ready himself, like, oh, wait a minute, hold on, y'all, stop, and then he just kind of readies himself. He kind of squats down and readies himself, and then just blah, blah. Yeah. And then the aftermath, it's like that line in Pulp Fiction. He was just sitting there, he couldn't even say it, but what he meant to say was, this is some repugnant
shit. I ain't never gonna forgive you for this shit.
Got whale matter all in my hair.
Whole squad
you, butcher.
Sitting in the guts of a whale.
Yeah.
Just, oh my
whole
God.
Squad.
Yeah, man.
So absurd! Oh my God!
Yeah, man. So it's a very, very, very like biblically reference to all y'all in the belly of the whale right now.
Yeah. Maybe the only next outrageous part would be when they infiltrates Sage Grove.
Oh yeah.
And all the prisoners get, all the patients get let free. The superpowered patients get let free, and Love Sausage does his thing on Marvin. I was like, okay, wait a minute, is that his dick? Is that your dick, dude?
Yeah, because they had shown that tentacle before, but you weren't sure. You just thought, I thought it was a tentacle.
dick.
Oh man! And then the girl, the shaved head girl, she was doing her homage to Akira Tetsuo, crushing the walls in the hallway and everything. I was like, okay.
Now, see, that was one of the biggest diversionary things that I saw, because we saw that she escaped. She left the whole prison camp situation. Right. That's what I thought was doing the killing in the courtroom, not the twist they put at the end. Because she was smashing heads.
That would have made sense. Right. Yeah, that would have made sense.
Not the freaking governor or Victoria, whatever her last name is, doing it.
Yeah,
Victoria Newman, the politician.
Yeah, that was
weird, did come out of left field, D. Yeah, I thought the same thing. Like, I was like, her? I remember saying out loud when it was revealed after she killed the Church of the whatever the dude is.
Church of the Collective.
Yes, the Church of the Collective guy. So I'm expecting, like you, D. Okay, when they pan over to who it is, it's gonna be the girl with the shaved head and everything. Then they show it was Newman. I was like, what?
Yeah, that was
I don't know.
But then when they show you like certain segments, or you watch some of the YouTube videos, people are like breaking down the video, you can see how they can say, okay, yeah, she was actually doing that. They show like various like angles where she was less composed than others, like she was definitely focusing at certain points.
Oh, really?
Throwing people, like throwing it off.
Get out! What?
But the actress herself said she had no idea they were going to use it that way.
Oh,
so that was interesting in of itself.
Adrian, how did you feel when John Dorman, aka Bill Rawls, showed up in the wheelchair, yo?
Oh, I mentally said Rawls. Oh shit!
He finally got his comeuppance, yo, Scanner style.
Yeah, Rawls. Damn, he always gonna be Rawls, yo. But he actually acquitted himself very well. And again, when they had the congressional hearing or whatever it was, and he kind of rolls in like Professor X, I was like, okay, all right. And then when their head went plow, and then another one went plow, I was like, damn. Shit.
Popping like tomatoes, yo.
That's what I'm saying.
It was gruesome.
It was crazy.
Pop goes my mind.
My mind. There you go.
Wow. Scanners deeply, yo.
That's it. That is it. What did you guys have any criticisms? Any crits for this particular season? Other than what we talked about, Adrian, with the black paint and all?
I got you. Yeah, one criticism I did have, and it kind of started with the previous season as well. Season 1 was, I found more in this season, especially early on, I found myself sitting on the edge of my seat, not so much because I was anticipating, what's the next story turn? It was more like sitting on the edge of my seat and wincing, waiting for the next bout of extreme violence. It's just like, it's like every time Homelander would be on screen, I felt I had to catch myself like wincing, like, is he gonna do something? I hated that. I hated that feeling, but that also shows like the type of emotion that type of character has engendered, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And it's just like I just hated that feeling though. Just like
he's like the ultimate bully, where when he's around, everybody on eggshells. Okay, like what is this motherfucker gonna do?
Yeah, you just
right.
What about you, D?
I mean, I wouldn't say it was flawless, but at the same time, in terms of like some things I would like to have seen happen didn't happen, but I guess that's good because that would have been too much like a obvious thing to happen. Becca, I didn't see the necessity for Becca to die.
Yeah.
But I guess, when mom's being threatened and pushed into a corner, a child will show its greatest emotion to some degree. So it makes sense for Ryan to manifest at that point in time like a 13-year-old mutant.
Right.
I didn't find it. Like, I didn't find it necessary to kill the whale. I mean, I wasn't grossed out by that or anything of that nature. But it kind of,
D on some Peter shit, yo.
There you go.
Don't harm the animals.
Greenpeace.
Right? No, it
Save the whales.
Right? It didn't bother me. It didn't bother me. Well, I tell you what I didn't care much for though was January's mother coming to the bar with her dumb ass, coming to the coffee shop with her dumb ass, thinking that Vaught would just like let them go to on some kind of pleasant little mother-daughter trip someplace, not knowing that she was leading Black Noir straight to him. But I mean, but these aren't criticisms of things I didn't like. They were actually good points in the story that pushed the story forward. So her getting caught in Vaught Towers, put in that secure room where she couldn't absorb any kind of sound or anything, that was great. Do
you have any criticisms though, D? Any criticisms?
Yeah. Okay, one. I would say gratuitously in the very beginning, where again with Black Noir, where he goes to Arabic country, and he assassinates the super that's there, because it's the American thing to do, and then snatches his head off and waves in front of a little boy, and this is your daddy or whatever the case may be. Was that really necessary? Was that some fucking flag waving bullshit I've ever seen in my life? That got on my nerves, man. That got on my nerves. Even though it was a well executed scene, I could totally see inside the comic books how that'd be much more palpable, because comics do all kinds of crazy gratuitous shit all the time.
It's
not 3D wet brains and gray matter and shit, but to see it in reality, that shit threw me off, man. I was like, this is not cool, man.
Yeah. A quick aside as far as Black Noir is concerned, I think I sent you guys the article because, Adrian, I think you're the only one who actually read maybe like the first arc of the comics.
I tried to.
Tried to.
Yeah, I tried
that was
to.
What, Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson?
Derek Robinson, yes, sir.
Okay. But I was going to say, from what I understand from the article in the comics, it's revealed later on that Black Noir is, I think, a clone of Homelander that went wrong. Yeah. That's why he doesn't speak.
Yeah, something like that. For real.
Yeah, and maybe they're not going to explore that on the show. But yeah, that's supposedly what the deal is that he's a clone. But my criticisms or things I think that it didn't get quite right was that one scene at the beginning of one of the latter episodes where you have the guy who's kind of a nerdy online guy, and he's and he ends up shooting that store clerk and accusing him of being a soup.
Right.
I thought it didn't add anything to the overall. It was unnecessary, and it was a real obvious kind of see, nerds online will go out and do horrible things, and it's like, okay. That didn't really work for me. Didn't work for me very well. The other thing was, I think the show is good, really good, but it's like really good gourmet food. It's great and it's delicious, but ultimately it's still fast food and it doesn't nourish me. Like after it's off, I mean, I'm done.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you might be like, oh man, these fries smack, yo. Damn, you try that special tangy ketchup they got. This shit is good. but it doesn't stay with me. It doesn't nourish me. It's just like, okay, it's just good and delicious for now. And some stuff should be that way. I'm not saying everything has to be.
Of course.
Everything has to be like a Thanksgiving meal where you just sit back and unbuckle your pants. But I think that's kind of it too. Is that it is great fast food. So I take it as such, and I think that's part of the reason why they went back so quickly and made another season. I think the producers of the show know that it's kind of like fast food. It's like drive-through. Hurry up, motherfucker! Make the burgers, make the fries, make the hot dogs. But anyway, but I think the one thing I thought that really was just like was a miss was the scene in the finale where Homelander is rubbing one out on top of a skyscraper, basically on top of the world.
Yeah, I could do anything.
And he's saying, I can do whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. And I was just like, okay, that's just a silly line.
Yeah.
And it was just too on the nose for me. I was just like, okay, come on now.
Yeah.
You know, we were all thinking he was going to do that.
Right.
You're actually showing it as like, what? You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. But
yeah, that probably was a single solitary most wasted scene I think in the entire show I could think of.
Yeah.
That did nothing for the progression of the character and the storyline. It was like an end cap to like Kick-Ass or soming that you expect to see on the movie Kick-Ass.
Yeah. And all of those, you know, Ennis and Miller and you know the Authority, you know, the boys. All of this is born basically out of Watchmen. You know, I would say, I don't know if you guys would agree, but.
Justice League. I mean, I'm feeling more Justice League in terms of the Super Friends, but go ahead.
Yeah. Justice League and Super Friends in terms of who the characters are and how they relate to one another, but definitely like Watchmen in terms of, okay, what if they were in the real world problems, real world pressures coming into a super organization. That you know that part of it. For me,
I agree. I feel more authority though than I do anything in this situation.
Definitely the authority.
Yeah, because you know a lot of it, much of it is so absurdist. You know, as if on its surface to say that, well, the idea of superheroes themselves are absurdist. So we should treat like this story, you know, structure as absurdist or whatnot. I mean, we can still reflect certain things that are going on, you know, in reality within the fiction, but you know, let's really just go all the way with it. And it still reads and has that spirit of like, you know, Ennis and Ellis and Miller, all those British writers, Peter Milligan, you know, that came over in the early 90s and were really starting to make that, for better or for worse, an archetype, you know, the British bastards, you know, who come over and talk about bollocks and just do things that are so antisocial and they'll kick your teeth
Bugger off,
in.
you cunt.
Exactly. You could throw a stick and hit like 5 books by them dudes that all sound like that. Exactly.
That's true.
You know what's funny about having this conversation?
What's that?
The fact that it took from, you know, comics, let's say comics as we know them starting in somewhere in the mid 30s.
Yeah.
It took almost 50 years for somebody to say, well, what if superheroes weren't good people? What if only the good people didn't put on in other words, they weren't just villains and they weren't heroes. What if the superheroes had problems? Moore just basically did what Stan Lee did, but he just took it to the extreme.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Stan Lee said, what if Spider-Man had problems? His problem was he wants to get the girl and he wants, you know, make some money selling pictures.
Right. Yeah.
You know, somebody else's problem is the comedian is a homicidal, you know, rapist. And, you know, Dr. Manhattan is losing his humanity and, you know, somebody else has erectile dysfunction. Somebody else is an S&M freak, you know. You know, it's just all these other things. But I feel like this show has it definitely has a shelf life based on its popularity. And I do feel like the producers might leave it on the shelf, you know, too long. Adrian, you even implied in our text exchange that, you know, you don't think that they should really do a season 3. Of course they will.
Yeah, they will, but no, not need it.
Yeah, but you didn't think it was. And we see that with things like The Walking Dead where something just goes on way longer than it should have.
Yeah.
You know, way longer than it should have. I mean, The Boys it's like a black comedy with, you know, like Dee pointed out, extreme violence, you know, dark superheroes, but that can only go on so long, I think, to make it interesting.
To answer your, I agree with you to certain points wherein I think the strength of The Boys is the fact their strength is in parody. So I think as long as you have those characters that you can still parody out there, you have a season which can revolve and get those characters ingrained in the main storyline. Like Captain America is this soldier was coming up next, Soldier Boy coming up next season. You know, I can see that. And,
y'all know what it is.
Right? and I kind of want to see. I do want to see what happens to Ryan. I'm interested to see what happens to Ryan, and if he's portrayed by another actor.
Please, because he will be older by the time he comes back. Yeah.
And if he's the downfall of his father, that would be interesting to me. Like if you could play that into it, because that's his one weakness. Will he kill his own seed? Which is one thing. Well, he hasn't crossed that line yet. We don't know if he'll do that.
The one thing I'm curious about, D, as it relates to that is if the show producers, if Kripke and Rogan and Goldberg, if they're going to give their version of Homelander a physical weakness, a physical kryptonite, or will his emotions, his brokenness as a person, remain his only true kryptonite?
That's his kryptonite. I think they should keep it with his emotions. Absolutely, because that's the one thing with even Superman as a character. It's like, you can rack your brain, you can hit your head against the wall trying to come up with things for him to punch, but it's always his best villain is always going to be a simple human, Lex Luthor. Let me outsmart you, or human contact, just in terms of, okay, he can punch out a big ass robot, but how do you handle like an abusive spouse? Like he had to do like when he first premiered, like back in the 30s. He was like fighting slumlords and guys like that. How do you fight on a human level? You can't punch out those slumlords without killing them. You can't punch out an abusive spouse or whatever.
Right.
So he could in the 40s because he was basically only had like the strength of like 10 men.
10 men.
But like, now it's like, okay, Superman can like lift the world and shit. So now it's like he definitely got to keep his shit in check now.
Exactly. So I think for them, it would behoove of them to keep Homelander, keep his emotions, because really, his emotions could go unchecked. I thought one of the most harrowing scenes was that in his mind when he was at that rally and everyone in his mind, started pointing the finger at him. No. He just wiped them out. Just
Look, when we were watching that, my wife was like, "This has got to be a fantasy. This can't be real."
She went shot to roll you, yo.
Yeah, yo. Are you out of your Vulcan mind, Homelander? But I did want to end with one last thing. And I don't know if you guys have even thought about this, but as an actor, Karl Urban is headed for the mountaintop as far as his appearances in nerd-centric IPs.
Yes. Yep.
This dude got Lord of the Rings, Doom, Chronicles of Riddick.
Yes.
Star Trek.
Yes.
Red. Dread.
Nice. Redemption.
Thor Ragnarok. And The Boys. So when Karl Urban gets ready to hit the convention circuit, he gonna make all the munties, yo.
Seriously.
He gonna have the longest line and make all the munties.
Yeah, man.
That concludes this episode of Sidebar Forever, hosted by Dwight Clark, Swain Hunt, and Adrian Johnson. You can find us online at sidebarforever.com. Any emails or questions can be directed to us at sidebarforever@gmail.com. And also, subscribe to us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Sidebar Forever is copyright 2020. Dwight Clark, Swain Hunt, and Adrian Johnson.